Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Old Glory Games podcast. My name is Kyle, and I am here with Greg, and we are going to talk about, well, this is the second thing we talked about in this recording, about things that really aggravate us. This one is about why today's exhibition fights are hurting boxing. And Greg, I know you're a big boxing fan. I am too. You may be more, may know more about the sport than I do. In fact, I know you do, but I love the sport. I always have growing up. But I hadn't even considered this, but a lot of people are talking about this. And this is one thing that boxing doesn't need right now. They already have enough problems with the belt splits and not want to fight real good fighters and the ongoing competition, not only with UFC and wrestling, but they have these stupid sport we can smack someone standing up, and that's making a lot of money. So boxing has a lot of competition. They don't need this, do we?
I totally agree with that. And these exhibition fights, and I put them in air quotes, because it goes beyond being exhibition. So back when boxing was a healthy, thriving, mainstream sport, and we talked about boxing when it used to be that, exhibition fights were entertaining, and they highlighted the popularity of the sport and the participants. Way back when, in the early 1900s, Jack Johnson did exhibitions. Jack Dempsey did exhibitions. A little later on in the century, during Muhammad Ali's heyday, he did exhibitions against Michael Dokes. I think Dokes was only like 19 at the time. And there's a famous clip from that fight where Ali was in the corner and he had both his hands on the ropes, and he just basically stood there exposed and let Dokes try to hit him.
Yes.
And he dodged like, I don't know, maybe like 17 punches in a row, and Dokes couldn't hit him. So that was the highlight of that fight. Ali versus wrestling legend Antonio Inoki. That, I think that was kind of billed as a serious exhibition, but it wound up being very boring and very non-eventful. Ali got some serious damage to his legs. I think he had blood clotting in his legs because Inoki just laid on his back and kicked Ali in the legs for like 15 rounds. And yeah, there we go. And it caused some major issues with Ali and his legs. Ali versus Gorilla Monsoon. Another wrestler, but yeah, this was more comical.
Right.
And fun to watch.
I thought it was fun. I thought it was real.
Yeah.
I thought it was real.
lot of people did back when people in general thought wrestling was maybe real or somewhere in the vicinity of being real. Ali versus former football great Lyle Alzado, who I think became a boxer for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
George Foreman, I think we talked about this when we did our George Foreman podcast. He fought 5 fighters consecutively in one night as part of an exhibition he put on. This was very serious because Foreman was trying to prove he was still a dominant, menacing force in the heavyweight division. This was after he lost his title to Ali in the Rumble in the Jungle back in 1974. But back then, boxing exhibitions, they usually would demonstrate boxing skill mostly, I just made up a word, mostly in a playful, respectful way with modified rules. There might be shortened rounds. There might be oversized gloves to keep from hurting one another, headgear, etc., with the intent being put on making a good show. You knew what you were getting at that point. It's kind of like going to the circus or seeing the Harlem Globetrotters. So when you saw these exhibition fights, you knew what you were getting. This was entertaining. This was a show. This was basically, if you wanted to see Ali, lighter side of him, of course, he clowned in some of his regular fights, but to see him really put on a show and show just how fast he was or just how skilled he was, then these exhibitions were kind of neat to see. But see, I go back to what I said at the top. Back when boxing was a healthy, thriving, mainstream sport, it's not that anymore. So if you fast forward to today, since the Roy Jones Jr. Mike Tyson exhibition back in 2020, and you recall that fight,
yeah.
It was designed to entertain a lockdown audience. That was during COVID, and sports fans wanted something to be able to watch because a lot of these sports were locked down, and either they weren't going on or they were going on in front of in empty arenas because of COVID concerns. So this exhibition fight teased what could have been if they had fought 20 years earlier. So it's like, okay, we know it's an exhibition and we know this is for a worthy cause. I don't know if they raise money for charity. I can't remember, but basically to entertain people that were locked down and in search of good entertainment. So, and I think it accomplished that. I think you and I both know if Mike Tyson really wanted to knock out Roy Jones, he could have done it. But again, they were trying to show their skill level and, how fast they could still punch and how hard they could still punch and all that stuff. So I think it met its goal. But since then, Floyd Mayweather Jr., another, athlete that I'm not very fond of, he's had multiple exhibitions facing the likes of MMA fighters, retired boxers, YouTubers, kickboxers, all of whom were grossly overmatched. But as we have talked about during discussions of other topics, it boils down to money. So Floyd's first exhibition fight after retirement was against Tenshin Nasukawa, and I apologize if I mispronounced that name. He earned about $9 million. Floyd did. In his exhibition fight against Logan Paul, and we'll be talking about his brother here in a minute. So Logan, I think, is in the WWE. So Floyd was guaranteed $10 million in base salary and claimed to have made $100 million. Against Don Moore, I don't even know who that is. He earned 80% of the pay-per-view. I wouldn't pay a nickel to see it, but okay. With total earnings estimated between $50 and $60 million. And in case you haven't heard, there are talks of an exhibition with Mike Tyson where he is expected to earn between $25 and $30 million. So I'll get to my thoughts on fights like this in a minute. I'll eventually get there. So we mentioned Logan Paul a few minutes ago as one of Floyd's cherry-picked opponents. His brother, Jake Paul, who recently fought Mike Tyson, in a fight that you and I discussed several months ago and analyzing how that fight was going to turn out. Well, unfortunately, it turned out much different than I thought, with a lot of people speculating that it was rigged. We didn't get the fight we thought we were going to get, but those two made a bunch of money. So to me, any fight Jake Paul fights has an air of, yeah, we don't think this is real. We don't think we're seeing what we're supposed to be seeing as far as it being a legitimate athletic contest. So Jake Paul, who is the poster child of what's wrong with boxing, in my opinion, to me, he's just a YouTuber trying to make money. He's not interested in becoming a good boxer or a legitimate boxer. He's fought quote unquote legitimate fights against hand-picked, long since retired MMA fighters, past their prime boxers, wannabe boxers. He fought Nate Robinson. Do you remember him, the guard from the Knicks?
No.
He fought him. The first time he fought an actual active boxer, he lost. He lost to Tyson Fury's brother, Tommy.
Okay.
I think it was like a split decision.
I remember that,
yeah. So the first time he fought a real fighter, he got beat. The farce of a fight that I just talked about with Mike Tyson became the biggest boxing gate in U.S. history outside of Las Vegas.
No, yeah, really?
So,
wow.
Yeah. So Netflix got 108 million viewers from that fight, which was not much of a fight.
And the coverage was bad. It kept pausing people.
Yes, I was very frustrated with it. So a few weeks ago, Netflix presented a fight between two of the all-time great boxers, Terrence Bud Crawford and Canelo Alvarez.
Yeah.
Very good fight.
Yeah.
Put on very well. It drew 41 million viewers. So a legitimate fight that could be argued as a fight of the decade.
Alvarez is a beast, man.
Oh, yeah. He is, but Crawford's better. And it was a very good fight. Had a lot of different elements to it. Is Alvarez too big, too strong? Is Crawford going to lose any speed moving up in weight? All of these different things. So it was very compelling. That legitimate marquee matchup only got 41 million
compared to 100 and what?
108.
So 60
for Tyson and Jake Paul.
60, roughly.
So Jake Paul will be at it again. He'll be taking on Gervonta Tank Davis in an exhibition in November. So the problem with this is, other than Jake Paul is involved, and I don't believe anything I see when he's engaged in a so-called legitimate fight. Jake Paul's a heavyweight, about 200 pounds. I think Davis is like a lightweight, around 135 pounds. So what is compelling?
Seriously, 60 pounds, man.
It's like what? And Jake Paul's like 6 foot, man. And I think Tank Davis is like 5'5". It's like, what is compelling about a fight like that?
Oh my gosh,
nothing. In my opinion, there's nothing out of that matchup I want to see, but people will pay to see it.
You can see a scrawny CM Punk in WWF, no problem, because but not in real fighting.
Yeah, and I'll get to that part here in a second. So I may have mentioned a little while ago that Mike Tyson is scheduled to fight Floyd Mayweather in the spring of 2026. Again, same type of thing. It's like, I watched Floyd fight The Big Show, but we knew what we were getting when we saw it.
Yeah.
So to me, exhibition fights of today are pure money grabs. That's all they are. Just teasing the prospects of seeing something special and real with matchups against name opponents, regardless of whether they're retired or not. And just likely delivering very little other than a sideshow and making a mockery of the sport of boxing. It feels more like pro wrestling in a bad way. With pro wrestling, it's a work. And I'm using wrestling terms here, so let me explain. Yeah. So a work is basically, it's part of the script. It's part of what's been pre-planned about the outcome of that particular match. So it's part of the show, it's part of the script. But at least you know that going into it. But you're entertained because it looks somewhat like an actual athletic struggle or contest. It's like a choreographed melee. But with these exhibition fights that try to pass themselves off as a shoot, and again, another pro wrestling term, a shoot is an actual fight, a real fight. But these exhibitions feel very rigged, and they also they make the already marginalized and niche sport of boxing look more and more like a clown show, more than what it already is. So an actual fight between two all-time great fighters like Crawford and Alvarez get less press and viewership than one of these so-called exhibition fights. So boxing will never have the respect it once had, or will never be a relevant mainstream sport again if it continues to allow these so-called fights to continue. But as we said many times before, money talks. If people keep paying to see it, they'll keep serving this up with these sad what if fantasy type matchups that today don't mean anything. I mean, I think the exhibition that I mentioned when we started talking about this between Jones and Mike Tyson, I think that was probably the most intriguing one of the bunch as far as exhibition fights from today. Because back in, when was that fight with John Ruiz? So I think it was like around 2001. Roy Jones had already like cleaned up the light heavyweight division. I think he started out as a middleweight, just a fantastic talent, not just as a boxer, but I think Roy Jones played like basketball in the USBL too, if I'm not mistaken, during that period of time. It's like in his prime, nobody can touch Roy Jones. I mean, he was just that good.
All time in that weight class.
So, oh yeah. So he's like, well, okay, what can I do next? So he decides, well, I'm going to move up to heavyweight and I'm going to fight for one of the titles. So he moves up. So the light heavy weight limit is like 175 pounds. So he moves up from 175 to like around 200 pounds, and he fights the WBA heavyweight champion, John Ruiz, who was bigger, probably stronger, but skill level, he couldn't tie Roy Jones's shoes. But it was intriguing because, okay, for some of the same reasons Crawford and Alvarez was intriguing, could he go up in weight and not only retain his speed and his athletic ability, can he take a heavyweight punch? But Roy Jones proved the doubters wrong. He pretty much embarrassed John Ruiz. It wasn't even close.
It was terrible.
And he won the title, unanimous decision. So it's like, okay, I've moved all the way up from middleweight to heavyweight. I'm a heavyweight champion. What's next? So, of course, people were clamoring. It's like, okay, Mike Tyson is still around. Now, granted, Mike Tyson was not in his prime by then, but he was still Mike Tyson. And people were like, what if he fights Mike Tyson?
Exactly.
And there was a bunch of talk.
Yeah.
He should fight Mike Tyson. How would he fare against even 2001 Mike Tyson? Was still a scary dude, especially if he's fighting somebody that's naturally smaller. So I'm trying to remember some of the back and forth with that. I think at the end of the day, I think Roy Jones decided against it. He was
Right.
going to go back down to light heavy because he's like, well, I'm no match for some of these bigger heavyweights like Lennox Lewis and Riddick Bowe if he was even still around. But he's like, these bigger heavyweights, I can't fight. But there were smaller heavyweights he could have fought, like Chris Bird, like Mike Tyson. There were a couple other guys he could have fought and done okay against. I mean, John Ruiz weighed 220, 25
He could handle.
pounds.
He could handle
So,
him.
yeah, so he was a decent sized guy. So all of the talk, and to me, it would have been a fantastic fight.
Yeah,
I would have paid to see
sure,
it.
for sure.
But Roy Jones made the call, even though he could have made exponentially more money fighting Mike Tyson at heavyweight than he could have fighting anybody at light heavy, whether it was Antonio Tarver, whether it was Bernard Hawkins, didn't matter. But he chose to go back down to light heavy. He basically had to drain himself. He lost some muscle mass because he's going back down in weight. He should have stayed at heavyweight in hindsight, but he made that decision, went back down to light heavy. Fought Tarver the first time, struggled, barely won. To me, Tarver was winning until the later rounds. And then the second time he fought Tarver, he basically and famously got knocked out cold.
Yeah. He talked trash too.
Very surprising. Yeah, he did. I think during the reading of the referee instructions to both of them, and the ref goes, "Do you have any questions? Do you have any excuses tonight, Roy?"
Yeah, that was.
And I think the referees say, "Well, not those kind of questions," or something like that. But yeah, that right there, I think was a foreshadowing of Roy Jones's decline. Unfortunately, he was never the same after he got knocked out at that point. But again, going back to the what if and a fantasy type matchup, if he had fought Tyson back then, I think it would have been an amazing fight. So for them to put on this exhibition 20 years after, so people can get just a small glimpse of what we might have missed, I thought it was pretty neat. But it just wasn't the same. But after that, some of these exhibitions are just like absolutely ridiculous and just making more of a laughing stock out of boxing than it already is. It's already been reduced to a very niche sport. UFC surpassed years ago. As diminished as pro wrestling is, it to me, I think it's still bigger than boxing. And you have some of these other combat type sports, whether it be professional slapping or
pillow fighting. They have that now.
Or anything else that may trip your trigger. I mean, people have so many other things that they can watch and be entertained by than boxing. And it's really sad because I'm a huge fan of boxing, as you know, but to see it relegated to, a bottom shelf, way, way back in the video store. And I'm very much dating myself with that reference. Way, way back in the video store type position that it's in now. It's just really sad. And, I mentioned some of the all-time great fighters, and there's really not anybody like that anymore. Not to say from a skill perspective that you don't have guys that are as good, but you just don't have the personalities like you used to have to make you want to tune in and watch these guys fight. And you mentioned some of the other things that have harmed boxing. Top guys don't fight other top guys in their prime anymore. And Floyd Mayweather was the biggest, he was the biggest perpetrator when it came to that kind of stuff. He ducked Pacquiao for years until he wasn't in his prime.
Yeah.
He ducked a bunch of other guys, De La Hoya, and the list goes on as to who he ducked because he wanted to protect that perfect record. And I get it. But what made these fighters great in years gone by, like Ali, like Frazier, like Foreman, like Lewis, like Dempsey, like Johnson, like Marciano, they didn't duck anybody. They wanted to fight the best of the best. And that's what made people come out to see it. That's what made people watch it on TV. That's what made people listen to it on the radio, and on and on. But now you don't know who these guys are. They're making all of these fights pay-per-view against guys you've never heard of. There's no emotional attachment to any of these guys. It's not like, oh, I've been watching this kid fight since, he fought in the amateurs or Golden Gloves, or I saw him fight in the Olympics. None of that. We don't know who any of these guys are.
Golden Gloves was big back in the day.
Oh, yeah. It was really big. But we just can't identify with these guys that are fighting now because it's just so different. As far as the way they came up through the ranks, as far as we go back to talking about accessibility with these different sports, boxing is another one where, and I've mentioned it before, on free TV on any given Saturday afternoon, I could watch the heavyweight champion of the world, Muhammad Ali, put his title on the line. Amazing. Some of the best fights you ever want to see. You could just sit down and watch it on CBS or NBC or ABC. And there were like a handful of super big fights that you would have to watch on closed circuit. Pay-per-view wasn't really a thing back then. So a lot of those fights, you could just turn on the TV, Wide World of Sports or Sports Spectacular or whatever it was, you could watch it. And you knew who these guys were. And people around the world knew who these guys were. Now, you either have to, have some sort of cable, some sort of streaming, or have to pay like $80 to watch a bunch of fights with guys that you've never heard of in order to maybe see a halfway decent fight at the end. I mean, people just lost interest when they weren't able to watch fights like they used to. And if you don't know who the guys are, you can't be emotionally invested, and you pretty much stop caring.
Yep. And
then, going back to the circus type atmosphere we've got now in boxing, people just like, boxing is a dirty word now. I'm going to avoid it. And that's what people have done. So exhibitions going on in a sport that's in the state it's in, like boxing, it's just very bad for it. People like Jake Paul are just so bad for boxing, but I mean, he's making a bunch of money. He's making a spectacle out of boxing, and not in a good way. He's just in it to make money. He doesn't love the sport. He doesn't care about it. It doesn't matter to him whether he's a good boxer or not. I'm like, if you're truly interested in getting better, why don't you fight an actual active boxer? And I'm not even saying champion. Just fight a top 10 contender in the heavyweight division.
He's destroyed.
He would, and he knows it. That's why he's doing what he's doing. He's all about making money, and he's doing a very good job of it. But it's all feeling just like pro wrestling, which is ironic because his brother is a pro wrestler. So it's all within that type of arena, and it's just not good. I mean, it'd be nice if boxing today were as good was as good as wrestling was back in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s. It'd be nice if it were that good, but it's nowhere near that good. It's beyond awful, and boxing has itself to blame because they got greedy, they got corrupt, they devalued the championships, and they made it all about money. And there's that common denominator, money. But yeah, exhibitions are just bad. They didn't used to be when the sport was a lot better and a lot healthier, and you knew who the players were. But and by players I mean boxers, you know what I mean. But you know, it as far as you know, an analogy goes, it's like when you go to different games or whatever. When you open the program, you knew who all the players were. But if you open a program today, you don't know who any of these guys are. And it's sad.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's my rant on that.
I have
it's just very sad. And boxing will never be what it was. But if it could be 25% of what it was, I'd be happy. And a lot of other people would be too.
I think they could get there, but they would have to have some coordination. They would have to serve it up for the fans, and they would have to really play up the amateur fights and really get America back on board. Because once that 88 team, the 88 or the 84 team was incredible. The 88 team was the one that lost all those, but get people watching them as amateurs again and following them through Golden Gloves, through the Olympics, and onto their pro careers. I mean, I remember Sugar Ray and Foreman. We talked about him and many others were able to come up. Roy Jones too, for that matter, even though he got shafted. But there was a guy as a channel on YouTube. I just thought about him right now because he talked about the various corruption with the boxing world, and the channel is called Rummy's Corner. If you ever heard, you should check his channel out. It's really, really good. He's got a New York accent and he's really thick. He loves boxing. It's all about boxing, but he really hates the fact that there's no titles being served up for the political reasons. And so I think that would be the one thing, get the fighters to fight. I remember they had that whole thing where they had the unification series and Mike Tyson was able to do that. That came out perfectly for Tyson at the right time for him to come around to be even at a higher level than he probably otherwise would have been had that not been available to him. You mentioned about being undefeated, talking about protecting that record and dodging people. Reminds me of Rocky 3. They tried to protect Rocky, but he was old, so but this guy was just trying to protect his record for whatever reason. But what I don't think Mayweather understands is that if you want to be great, you got to lose a couple. I mean, the greatest fighter of all time, in my opinion, barring not heavyweight, whatever, is going to be Sugar Ray Robinson. I think he was fantastic as a fighter. And most of his footage we don't have on record. The footage we have now is pretty much he's been past his prime, but the footage of the people reciting and recalling Sugar Ray Robinson, even in losses, was just phenomenal. This guy could do everything. He lost a bunch of fights, but he also went on this crazy win streak too that probably will never be surpassed. So a guy like Andre Ward never lost a fight, but no one knows who the heck Andre Ward is.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But just
unless you're a true boxing fan, people have no clue who Andre Ward is. And he actually, I think he was one of the analysts for that Crawford Alvarez fight. So yeah, it's a shame that more people don't know who Andre Ward is, but he was a fantastic fighter and he retired undefeated, but nobody knows who he is.
Had he been in a couple of scraps, lost, came back, won. I mean, So yeah, that's how boxing is. People like to see people get up and come back. You mentioned about watching sports real time on Wide World of Sports. One of my earliest memories was in Clinton, Maryland, where I grew up. I remember going upstairs. I had to have been 7 or 8 or something like that. Well, you'll know exactly how old I was because I'm telling you what I saw. I'm in the kitchen. We had a little small color TV in the kitchen, and it was Leon Spinks against Ali, number 2, I believe. It was in the middle of the day. I'm not sure when it was. I should look that up. If you want to look it up, Ali Spinks 2, I believe. When that was, what time of day it was. That's where I was. I knew exactly where I was at 7 or 8 years old, whatever, however old I was. But yeah, that was on TV.
Yeah. So to talk
Okay,
about
go
that
ahead.
a
Sure, go
little
ahead.
bit, it was on
Yeah.
ABC. Howard Cosell called the
Oh,
fight.
okay.
It was in the
Okay.
Superdome in New Orleans. And I think ABC paid like a ton of
What time
money.
was it? Did it tell you what time it was? It was like in the morning or in the afternoon. It was daytime when I was watching it.
It may have been like late afternoon, early
Seemed like it
evening, because
was.
I remember watching
Let
it.
me look it up. Go ahead.
And so this was a big deal because everybody thought this was going to be Ali's last fight. Of course, unfortunately, it wasn't his last fight.
I
But
wish it was. Yeah.
yeah. So, he lost the title to Spinks. He underestimated him. And Ali's like, well, I got to come back and prove that I can still do it, that I'm still the greatest, and be the first heavyweight to regain the title for the third time. So there were a lot of different storylines going into this fight. The Superdome was packed. It was amazing. And, I'm an all-time big Ali fan. So I was, rooting real hard for him that night.
Yeah.
Joe
It was
Frazier
9 p.m. by the way.
sang the national anthem.
Yeah, so it was late. Joe
Which,
Frazier.
yeah,
Oh wow.
he sang the national anthem. So, again, there was just so much riding on this. And, Ali was kind of a shell of his former self, but he's still Muhammad Ali, and he's still smart, and he still had enough skills and enough smarts and enough wiles and everything else to outbox Leon Spinks. It wasn't even close. It was unanimous decision, and he basically gave Leon a boxing lesson. And it wasn't the prettiest fight in the world, but you could see just how experienced and how smart Ali was. It's like, even at that age, if Ali would just dance, stick and move, when Leon gets close, time up, frustrate him, muscle him. Because, people forget Ali was a big
He
guy.
was.
Ali was like 6'3.5", 220. And Leon Spinks was like 6'1", barely 200 pounds. So Ali was a lot bigger than him. And he used every advantage he had to beat him. I mean, as far as artistically, it wasn't pretty, but strategically it was. And, of course, Ali won it for a third time, blows a kiss to the crowd. Everybody thinks that's it until a couple years later when he
Their
decided to
homes.
come back. And yeah, that was a very bad idea. But yeah, watching that, and actually I just watched it the other day.
Oh wow.
And it's still intriguing to me after all these years and after however many times I watched it. If you go back and watch it, pay attention to when Leon Spinks walks down to the ring. Notice who one of his bodyguards is.
Oh yeah.
It's a very young Mr. T.
Oh wow. Yeah, he was a bodyguard. He actually was a bouncer
Yeah.
too, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
Wow.
So Mr. T is, I think, completely bald. He didn't have the mohawk at that point, but he still had the
Mohawk, yeah.
beard. And yeah, he was one of Leon's bodyguards. So, between that and Joe Frazier singing the national anthem, those were two interesting tidbits. And also, so, Leon had a checkered life, especially after he won the title. And, you see all these pictures of him, buying fur coats and a bunch of jewelry and this, that, and the other. And Leon's not training and just not very disciplined. And going into the fight, his corner was an absolute mess. So somebody had the bright idea of running the corner by committee. So you had like 3 different trainers having to take turns in, with telling Leon what to do between rounds. It was a disaster. It's like, okay, he already doesn't know what to do, and he's having to listen to 3 or 4 different people, including his brother, as far as what he needs to do. He was totally lost out there. And, Ali just proved again, why he was the greatest in a lot of people's minds, because he just absolutely embarrassed, Leon Spinks.
I didn't know he died.
And, oh, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, just one of the fond memories I have as far as, watching boxing. And again, you watch that on free network television.
Yeah, it came on 10 o'clock.
And it was one. Oh, what time did it come on?
Now, think about it now. I do remember it was in the evening, because I was supposed to be in bed. Yeah. That's what happened. Yeah, it was 10 o'clock Eastern times, 9 Central.
I'm sure I should have been in bed too, but I'm staying up and watching this.
Yeah, I didn't even know what I was watching. I just knew it was a fight. I knew it was something important.
Oh yeah, and it really was. So yeah, back when boxing was great and relevant, and it's neither one at this point, which is pretty sad, especially to boxing fans like us. But you made a point about what boxing would need to do to try to get back to where it was, and you made a great point about putting emphasis back on amateur boxing, putting an emphasis on, training these guys when they're 11, 12, 13 years old, and putting it on a platform where people can watch these guys come up through the ranks like they used to.
Yeah.
Make these fights accessible for the average person to watch, and get rid of course, I think the toothpaste is out of the tube as far as all of these alphabet organizations who are very corrupt and, have no interest in having a unified champion. That's why most people in the business consider the Ring Magazine champion to be the champion.
Yeah, then
not these alphabet.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I'm cutting you off. Go ahead.
No, not all these alphabet organizations who don't want a unified champion. No, Ring Magazine, that classic belt that's like,
yeah,
I think it's red, white, and blue, and gold. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot like that. With the nameplates and pictures of the different champions and whatnot. Just classic. But, it's just gotten so watered down. The titles don't mean anything. And that's really sad. And, back in the day, way back in the day, boxing was basically run by the mob, back in Liston's day, and even back further than
Who's
that.
The champion?
How
he beat?
Boxing has had this
big in the mob
cloud and air of corruption for a long time, but now it's at a much different level. It may not be necessarily the mob anymore. It's just greedy organizations that aren't interested in making boxing a healthier sport. They're just interested in making money. And another thing that might help bring boxing back is to have some sort of universal commission or board or organization or something that governs the entire sport of boxing. I know logistically it might be a challenge, but if everybody involved is truly interested in making boxing better, something like that needs to happen. I doubt it will, because you've got all these stray cat organizations that are making money just the way that it is, and they aren't interested in doing anything like that. But I think it would help remove that air of suspicion and corruption and whatnot, and make people feel like boxing is a legitimate enterprise again. It's going to take something like that to make it legitimate in the fans' eyes, and also um, putting an emphasis and incentivizing the best fighting the best.
What we almost need is a bold leader like a Vince McMahon and a backer like a Trump. I'm not trying to say Trump. I'm saying people who like the sport, who could take UFC model and turn it into boxing, right? So have a closed event where they own everything, and then you use the money to grow talent at a low level. Eventually, now this take a lot. It's going to take a huge investment, and you're going to have some security too, because if this ever comes off, there's going to be a lot of pushback, right? So, and then pay these players to come in and start small, and maybe in 15, maybe 20 years. That's how long it probably will take. You could have it such that it could be like a UFC is today, if it's done right. A farm league, and then bring him into the big league, and have like an NFL type of thing. The built you get is so prestigious. No one's gonna care about the WBA and these alphabet other groups, that because historically speaking, yes, they have the street cred, but whoever remembers them, the past 20 years, you really haven't. So they don't have that anymore, because we've lost a lot of that, because they've destroyed the brand and the name of it and the credibility, as you alluded to.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say real quickly, you mentioned about Roy Jones and Tyson, how that would have been a really good fight. It would have been, because one thing about Roy Jones, and I watch a lot of these boxing analysts, the martial arts channel I tell you about, talks about how what made Roy Jones so good was because he could do things nobody can do, because he had the physical attributes to be able to keep himself protected by just moving his head. His head movement was legendary, and he could punch at different angles, and his balance was legendary. But once he got slower in his head speed, he couldn't defend himself as much, which is why Tarver got off on him, because it slipped enough that he couldn't protect himself like he used to be able to. And so that hurt him. But he was coming down just enough, and Tyson was coming down just enough that it would be an amazingly intriguing fight. Because Tyson was as fast as he used to be. Tyson's hand speed would have. It would be interesting. See, Tyson's hand speed was such that if he hit him one time, he would kill Roy Jones in their prime, both of them in their prime. But if he's a little slower, and he can get hit a little bit, but if he gets hit, it's not quite as detrimental because Tyson isn't as strong as he used to be. Then that would have been a really, really intriguing match. I 100% agree. I'm going to end this on a question to you. You mentioned about these exhibition fights that were crazy. They were talking about Elon Musk going up against Zuckerberg at one point. I thought that was interesting. You remember that? You remember that?
Actually, I don't. But
that was
yeah,
a big rumor, man. And both of them agreed on social media at one point. It never came. Never came to fruition. Now, I think Zuckerberg probably killed him because he's like a black belt and something, whatever. But I don't know. Let's see.
I missed that.
Yeah. And I guess I'll end. Oh, what about this? So this, and I have two questions for you, actually. Mm-hmm. I'll start with the easy one first. You mentioned about that this boxing with Logan Paul, or Jake Paul, wherever they are, it could be a work, it could be fake or fix or whatever. And a lot of people thought it was with the Tyson deal. But people are still betting. Is that legal? Hold that thought. And lastly, after he so-called won, people were calling it fake. Now he's talking about suing people. So is that a work? So two questions. If it's a work, then why is it legal to bet on it? And secondly, he was suing people for saying that it was fake, and he says he can go after these people with lawsuits.
Yeah. So as far as the ability to bet on his fights, I'm not sure if they're supposed to be legitimate contests. So the fight with Tyson was a quote unquote legitimate fight that counted against their records. Mm-hmm. So I assume at that point you could potentially, in theory, bet on it. And as big as sports betting is now, I'm sure people bet a bunch of money on it. as far as
Suing.
what was the second part of your question? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead. The second part of that
Oh, I'm
question.
sorry. I thought I keyed you in about the suing. How Jake Paul
Oh
was
yeah.
mad about, and he would sue people. Well, he's threatened to sue people who on social media who would say that the fight was rigged.
I think that's a work. I think it's all part of his game.
To be a
Jake
foil, to be a
Paul,
foil, or to be a heel.
yeah, Jake Paul is a gimmick. He just is, and I think that's part of his shtick as far as trying to make it look like his fights are real. So he's like, oh well, I'll sue anybody that says they're not. And I've seen a couple people say, well, come on and sue me. I don't care. Uh, that's my opinion. And from what I see, your fights are rigged. And a lot of people think that they are. Even with, and I go back to Muhammad Ali. So when he fought Liston the second time
That's a good. Yeah.
and knocked him out with the famous Phantom Punch, and Liston is down, he's rolling around, on the mat. The referee, which was former heavyweight champ Jersey Joe Walcott, he's not sure what to do. He's trying to make Ali go to a neutral corner, and he won't. And it's just Ali's yelling at Liston to get up because nobody will believe it, and all of that stuff. And it was a mess. And Liston is down on the ground. It's like, it looked like he's thinking, well, hurry up and count me out so we can get this over with. And Walcott's trying to pick up the count. He can't pick it up. And basically, while he's looking out in the crowd as to what to do, Ali and Liston start fighting again without the referee being involved. And then Walcott comes back over, stops the fight, and says, Liston was down for longer than 10 seconds. Ali's the winner.
Wow.
You can hear the crowd yelling fix, because they're like, yeah, there's no way Ali could knock Liston out with such a light punch.
I gotta watch that again.
Yeah, it only lasted like a round.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I knew it was a short fight. Yeah, short fight.
He hit him. If you slow it down, you can see where Ali's punch made contact with Liston and his jaw.
Yeah, Ali
you can see
that punch. He would say something
the impact, because when Ali hit him,
perfect kind of thing.
You could see Ali's muscles rippling from the force of that punch. So he hit him.
Okay.
Now, did he hit him hard enough to knock somebody like Sonny Liston out? I don't know.
Was on the button? I mean, was it on the chin?
Yeah, oh yeah. He hit him on the button.
That would do it. Kamakimura took one. And it was a straight shot. It wasn't the uppercut. His was uppercut, right? Ali versus Moore was basically a straight.
Yeah, but Ali's punch, it wasn't an uppercut, but it was like a straight right, and he kind of twisted it a little bit.
Anchor punch or something.
The anchor punch. That's the
term that he used, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. I mean, he caught him. He hit him. And if you hit somebody and they don't see it, I mean, those are the ones that get you out of there. So I think he hit him harder than what people thought. But, could Sonny Liston have gotten up before 10? I think he could have. But Liston, at that point, went in business for himself, another wrestling reference. But he's like, I can't beat this guy. There's no sense in me, getting beat up like he did the first time. I'll just, I'm going to go down. I'm just going to stay down. And then I'm just going to go on because he knew he couldn't beat him even the second time around. But no, Foreman's shot on Moore that knocked him out. I mean, he hit him right on the button, on the chin, but it didn't look like a really hard punch because I've seen George Foreman, like if you pull up the video of when Foreman, and this was after his comeback, he fought Jerry Cooney. And that walking uppercut that knocked him out, I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, if George Cooney wasn't a big guy, he would have been out of here for real.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've never seen anything like that.
His whole body just
it was.
You can see all this body just like fall. I mean, just ripple, like you said.
He crumpled like
it was
like a cheap lawn chair. I mean, it was just amazing to watch. But when he hit Moore and knocked him out, it didn't look like a hard punch. It's not like he wound up or anything. He just hit him on the button, on the chin, short shot, and Moore was seeing cuckoo birds. I mean, he was staring up at the lights, and you knew he wasn't getting up. So some of these things, it's just if you hit somebody on the button, I mean, you're getting them out of there. But so yeah, people have suspected certain fights to be fixes. I get it. It's a water cooler discussion, but all of Jake Paul's fights, especially here lately, look just like that. And I'm like, for the general public, why would you pay to watch any of his fights? To me, if you want to prove that your fights aren't rigged, fight a legitimate contender. Right. And then maybe I'll be convinced, but he won't do it because he knows from a skill level, he can't beat any of these top guys. And that would turn the money faucet off.
Yeah, that would end it. So tell me about the contract with him and Tyson. I heard things about that. It de-incentivized Tyson putting him out early. He had to wait longer. And if he knocked him out longer, then he could get more money. Was that true? Did you hear that at all about the contract?
I did. I heard that rumor to where
makes sense, but
I mean,
it makes sense. I mean, from his standpoint, Jake Paul's standpoint, it doesn't make sense from but Tyson needed the money, so I mean,
yes, I was getting ready to say that Tyson needed the money. Tyson long ago said that when he lost the last fight before that one, he lost to Kevin McBride. And I'm sure everybody's thinking, well, who in the world is that? Kevin McBride was basically a journeyman fighter that didn't really beat anybody of note, but he was a big guy. I think it was like 6'6", 240, 250, pretty big guy. Not much skill. So Tyson comes out, he's doing the Tyson thing. Now, at this point, there's really little to no head movement, not the same footwork, all the things that made him a great champion. But he can still hit hard. So he's going in, he's trying to get off one shot at a time. McBride is it's not like he's hurting Tyson, but he's leaning on him. He's pushing him around. He's hitting him with some okay shots. And it's like at some point, I forget which round, McBride hits him. It's not a great shot, but Tyson just kind of goes down and acts like he don't want to get up. And he finally gets up and he goes to the corner and his corner man goes, I'm stopping it, because it didn't look like Tyson really wanted to fight. And Tyson's probably like, it's not worth it. Even if I beat this guy, what does it mean? So after the fight, he basically said, my heart's not in it anymore. I'm just fighting for the money. So fast forward however many years later, after all of the bluster and all the promises of knocking Jake Paul out, Tyson made, as far as I know, like $20 million. And the rumor was that Jake Paul had a bunch of incentives in the contract as far as, okay, if the fight goes the distance and Jake Paul wins, Tyson gets the full 20 million. But if Tyson goes out and knocks Jake Paul out in the first round, he gets nothing. Now, I don't know how true that is, but basically, Tyson was de-incentivized to win the fight, from what I've heard. At any point, if he knocked Jake Paul out, I heard he wasn't going to get paid, or not get paid nearly as much as if he let the fight go the distance with Jake Paul winning. And that theory and that rumor is certainly fueled by watching the fight. It's like, well, why isn't Tyson throwing any punches? Now, Tyson caught him with a good shot, I think, in the first round. But after that, he quit. He basically quit throwing punches. And again, the rumor or the theory was when Jake Paul clinched with Mike Tyson after he hit him with that pretty decent shot, he whispered and reminded him, okay, you know what the deal is, you can't knock me out, basically be careful, because, if Tyson had hit him with a few more shots like that, he would have knocked him out. So people speculate that Jake kind of clinched with him and whispered to him, hey, remember our deal? And Tyson was pretty passive after that. He kind of followed him around the ring, but wasn't throwing any punches. And it was just either you believe Tyson got very old that night and just couldn't do anything after watching him train like he was half his age, or you're led to believe that, yeah, this was fixed and Tyson went along with the script. And that's kind of what it looked like to me. And after that, not like Jake Paul had much credibility before that, he's got zero credibility with me now. You couldn't pay me to watch a Jake Paul fight at this point, because I just don't believe it's a legitimate contest. And he'll never escape that suspicion until he fights a legit active fighter. He really needs to go away. If we can get rid of Jake Paul as far as being in the sport of boxing and being the fraud that he is, I think boxing has a better chance of getting somewhat healthy again.
Yeah, I would recommend you go see Rummy's Corner on YouTube. He has a good video about the alphabet community and these leagues and these belts. He's just really, really angry about it. And he goes through all of it. And you can just hear the angst in his voice about it. Because this guy loves boxing. He's got a great channel. He has these specials that talk about the best heavyweight fighters before 1930. Stuff like that, Jack Johnson, those guys. So anyway, so check him out. And I hope that this was informative for younger viewers out there to know that boxing is really, really a cool sport. It's way more sophisticated than pillow fighting. It's way more sophisticated than this slapping thing they're having now, which you can get I don't understand that at all. UFC is legit, but I still prefer a good boxing match over a UFC fight, unless John Jones is fighting. Anyway, Greg, anything else? We're going to close it up and lead us out?
Yeah, so anytime we talk about boxing, I enjoy it. Unfortunately, it seems like here lately we've been talking about what's wrong with boxing. There's a lot wrong with boxing. But again, if everybody that's involved and that's actually running the sport, if they can all get together for the good of the sport and, legitimately try to fix it, then I think boxing has a chance to be in a better place. But right now it's in such a bad place that I don't have a whole lot of hope for it being much better until you get rid of the negative elements, whether it be clown show fighters or alphabet organizations or having just way too many weight classes. I mean, back in the old days, I think there was lightweight, welterweight, middleweight, light, heavy, heavy, and that was about it. Now you've got all these in between weight classes, junior this and super that. It just waters the talent pool down. It just waters the significance of the championships down. And, there was no such thing as a cruiserweight division, which is basically a wasteland between light, heavy, and heavy. Of course, that was a really nice springboard for Evander Holyfield because, but name another cruiserweight. I'll wait. So, it's not a very heralded division, but that's just an example of how boxing has kind of gone downhill. But, I'll keep my fingers crossed. Anything can happen. So, we'll see. But, anytime we can talk boxing, I enjoy it. And I'm glad, again, we can be back talking about these different things. And I look forward to the next time we can talk.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you so much for that. And to everyone else, thank you for hanging out with us again at the Old Glory Games podcast. By the time you hear this, we've already had one that posted, but when we filmed this, we had taken a long hiatus. And if you guys want to know the story behind that long hiatus, look for a video that I'll put it on one of our channels. I'll probably put it on Pickaxe. There's a link right there. Join us there. There's a referral link, and we're trying to grow that. And it's a subscription based, but this will be free. And so check it out there. There'll be a video explaining all of it. It's a long journey to get to where we are now. And I didn't have any issues on my end. StreamYard had its own issues, but I think we got through it. And so thank you guys so much for supporting us. And we look forward to continuing on because there's lots of subjects that I want to continue to talk about sports and bringing it to the generation now who may not know the stories that we have. I feel like an old man now talking about watching Ali and Spinks watching a heavyweight fight with the greatest heavyweight of all time, maybe Joe Louis. You can have an argument either way, but arguably the greatest heavyweight of all time on free TV.
Oh yeah. The good old days.
Yeah. And it was like it was his first fight. It was like he had been champion twice before. So anyway, that's where I am. So guys, thank you so much again for being on board with us, and we'll see you guys in the next one. God bless.
God bless.